at Lichfield. My name is Phil Whitehouse, and Cabinet Member for Waste and Parks and Open Spaces Operational Services. I'd like please to welcome our guest from Tamworth. Thank you for coming. And as a matter of housekeeping, if you could just please tell us your name and your title, what you do, please, so everyone in the room knows. And then we'll repeat over here as well.
I'm Carol Dean, I'm the leader at Tamworth Borough Council.
Thank you, Carol.
Hi, good evening. I'm Stephen Gabriel, Chief Executive at Tamworth Borough Council.
Thank you, Stephen.
Hi, I'm Hannah Peat. I'm the Assistant Director for Environment, Culture and Wellbeing.
Okay, Hannah, thank you. And on our side of the room, please.
Lizzie Barton, and I'm the Director of Resident and Business Services at the Council.
Thank you.
Vicky Woodhouse, Customer Relations Performance Manager for the Joint Waste Service.
Thank you.
Darren Phillips, Operations Manager for Waste and Transport for the Joint Waste Service.
Good. Thank you, everybody, for that. On that point, we will now move into the agenda fully. And the first item is apologies for absence. Have we had any apologies, please?
Okay, we've had apologies from Councillor Foster and Councillor Pullen.
And Simon Fletcher as well is on holiday. Yeah. Thank you very much. Can I ask if there are any declarations of interest on any items on the agenda tonight, please? No, thank you. It's good. And we're into the minutes now of the last meeting, which was the 24th of June 2025. I assume everyone has received those minutes and read them as an accurate reflection. There is a correction that we have spotted, which is the meeting closure time, which we think was 19:35, not 6:35. So that will be corrected. There is one item on there I'd just like to confirm, and that was under other updates. At that time, we were still waiting for the invoice from Birmingham City Council to be paid, and I think we have some good news. That has now been paid. So we're all balanced the books on that side. Thank you. And the next item now, when I can move over to Lizzie and the team, is to go through the pack, the Joint Waste Committee review and forward-looking slides, which will be on the screen behind us. Lizzie, can I ask how you would like questions, as and when, or at the end?
Yeah, do we just ask questions as we go through, or make
So if there are any questions, if anyone could just bring it to my attention, I'll make sure that those questions are asked. Over to you, Lizzie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. So we've got quite a few items to get through tonight, which really bring you up to speed on all the activity that's been going on over the past few months since we last met. First up on the agenda is our route optimisation and round changes. So in order to introduce the food waste collections into our fleet of vehicles and our operations, we need to do an operation that's called round balancing, which we did mention last time we met. This has been a really long and detailed exercise that we've carried out with Biffa. Biffa have taken all of our rounds, looked at the way we can optimise them, played around with the pick rates that we managed to achieve with the crews on the ground, fed it back to Darren, Vicky and the team, who have then used our local expertise to make sure that we're not doing silly things like splitting streets in half, where we know we'll end up with customer dissatisfaction because their bin's been empty but mine's not. And we've come up with the round balancing results that you see before you on the presentation. What we've done is we've tried to, and our brief has very much been trying to create more efficient rounds with the minimal impact on residents, but there will be some impact. One of the things I would say is this is something we have done regularly in the past. What we do is we don't go out wide with communications and tell everybody across the district this is happening. What we do is we write to the individuals who are affected. We thank them for their understanding and cooperation. The letter comes out the week before, so we tell them next week your bin day will change, so we minimise confusion. And then we let them know that they need to put their bin out on a different day. Some people will change the day within the week, so they'll put their blue, maybe they put their blue bin out on a Tuesday now, they might move to a Wednesday or vice versa. Some people will change week and bin, so they'll switch. So last week it was a blue bin and it will be a blue bin again, and we'll have to put arrangements in around that to support those residents. But we write to those residents. We've never had any real complaints around doing balancing operations before, and residents do tend to be very understanding and do go with it, particularly because we make sure whole streets are changing. The impact of the change is there for you. Unfortunately, the pinch point we have at the moment is a Wednesday, which is majorly a Tamworth day. And we know that we are going to change more Tamworth bins than we are going to change Lichfield bins, but it's just how it's fallen rather than design. So we certainly haven't designed it that way. What we've aimed to do is as I said, have the least impact on residents and make it as efficient as possible. We know the round balancing will help us to drop which will help us to save costs, which is great. And subject to the rounds all being finalised, we're hoping to launch them in late October, early November, so that there's a big enough gap between that, Christmas, and then when all the food waste changes come in. We want those to settle down. As I said, every household will receive a letter. We'll make sure we've got lots of people on the phones to support those residents, lots of further information online with QR codes, etc., so people can go out and find out more. And we'll make sure the messaging is shared across both councils so that we're all content with what's going out. So I don't know if there's any questions about that.
I don't think there's any questions. I can remember it happening before, and it, the world didn't end, so that was pretty good. And we have had the conversation back in Tamworth about the comms around it, and your justification for it sounds right, because it would be easy to get everybody thinking that it was going to happen when it wasn't, and that would be awful. Yeah.
I think it also will obviously do a feature for members as well, newsletters and what have you, so you're fully aware of what's happening in advance.
If we were able to have a list of where things are going to be, so that if we get questions we can answer it.
Absolutely, and in Lichfield District we'll make sure all the ward members are obviously updated that it's their wards that are being affected, so we'll make sure there's really solid comms that go out.
Yeah, and also include in the Lichfield area the parish councils as well, because they're a very big part in that communication at that level as well. Thank you.
So next up is food waste and the depot rearrangement. So our food waste vehicles are being built with Terberg, and I think we're looking at dates where we can actually get both cabinet members down to pose with food waste trucks. We've been working with a tracking company to make sure we can actually re-engineer the depot to fit those trucks in, which we believe we can now safely. We have got a few extra bits and bobs to do on that to make sure we've got safe walking paths, etc., but that's all in hand. Darren and the team and Pete have been working really hard to clear the depot of unwanted or unneeded items, and we've also spoken to Tamworth as well, so thank you for offering some bin storage space at your depot, which is great. We've been working really closely with health and safety and insurance to make sure what we're doing is safe, and we've now got to make sure that we finalise that piece of work, remark the depot, go down to Terberg to have a look at the trucks coming off the production line. And then we've been working on the design of the trucks. And this was a conversation actually that Councillor Whitehouse and I were having. Food waste caddies will go out the same day as your other bins, but they won't be emptied at the same time. So where you put your bag and your blue bag and your blue bin out at the moment, and they're emptied at the same time, you might get one of your bins empty, but your food waste won't be, because there'll be different timings. So what we want to make sure we do is really highlight that the vehicles are different, get some warm feeling around what will be probably quite stinky vehicles, but get some warm feeling around the vehicles, and just make sure there's really real understanding about it is a different set of vehicles that will come and empty your food waste, so that we minimise the number of people going, why haven't you emptied my other bin when one's been emptied? So what you see in front of you there is one of hopefully a family of monsters that we have designed, and we ran a competition at the Lichfield Food Festival to ask for naming ideas, and we'll continue that to make sure that all the monsters are named, and we'll use that as part of our engagement with schools that we'll be doing next year across Tamworth and Lichfield, so that we really do drive the understanding of the collections service and what we're doing.
I think people will understand that anyway, won't they? Because the green waste, you see a couple of wagons come down the street anyway. So, sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say that what we do with trying to engage with the public, then that's going to be across Tamworth as well. It's not just Lichfield Central.
We'll be putting a programme together across both authorities.
Yeah.
Darren's very kindly got us the truck back that we had at the food festival, so we're going to have that for a fortnight, and we're going to do a range of engagements across both districts.
Yeah.
And for half term, is it February?
Yeah, February half term for 2 weeks.
Close to the date then, so it's still.
Any other questions on that? So our next big challenge is food waste staffing, because we obviously need a whole new team of people to run the food waste collections for us. Last time we talked about running an internal recruitment exercise to encourage loaders who are on our other collection rounds to move across to become drivers on our food waste collection rounds. And Darren and Pete have been working really hard on that. And we have now 4 loaders who are going through the training programme. I think one of them's passed a really significant milestone already.
Their theory.
Their theory. So those will hopefully be trained up and ready. And then we now need to still find 6 further drivers to staff the fleet, and we'll be starting working on a recruitment drive this autumn, both for Christmas but also for food waste. What we do with agencies, we bring them on, with new people, so we bring them on agency first to give them a go, to see whether or not they like it, particularly loaders, because it's a really, really physical job. It's fast paced. You're running about 12 miles a day, I think. It's a really hard job, and quite a few people come on and they don't, actually it's not for me, I don't want to do it. So our agency is a really good opportunity to give people a chance, to not create those employment contracts with them until they've decided they like it, and then they move after 12 weeks, they move on to the permanent staff if we've got vacancies. So we'll be doing a recruitment for Christmas that we hope then will stand us in good stead for the food waste collections, because we can hopefully keep some of those new members of staff on board. Unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have our food waste funding confirmed, so we don't know how much we'll actually have to run the service, and we're waiting for that to be confirmed. We are off to Larac next week. Can I never say that correctly? Larac next week, which is the key industry conference. So hopefully we'll get some more insight next week into what we can expect coming forward and when that timing might happen. And we will also be building, once we've completed the base budget exercise and the work that we're doing with the Tamworth team, we'll be building a budget for food waste, so we know how much it will cost, irrespective of not knowing that we've got the funding. So when that funding is in, immediately say we've got enough or we've not got enough. So we'll have a proper budget, and we'll understand where we're going with that. So that is a big piece of work for us to do in the next couple of weeks, to make sure we've got that lined up and ready to go.
Stephen.
Can I just ask a question about, you mentioned the Larac conference, I think. Is there a joint team going, or is it just a team from?
Team from the joint waste.
So Hannah's not going, no.
I'm not going to have a it's on,
But
staying.
always be open to, we'll obviously share learning and knowledge. We pick everything up and share it in our regular meetings. And certainly one Hannah should certainly come. You'd find very interesting.
Lizzie, what is the process for joining Larac? Is it automatically that you?
No, we sign up and we pay our subscription to it.
So that would be the same for Tamworth.
So we have a joint.
It's a joint waste subscription.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Hannah would be very welcome. Stephen, if you ever wanted to come, you're very welcome to attend.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any more questions on the staffing? No, I just want to say thank you to Darren, because you're going to have to do a lot of juggling.
Yeah, they are.
So then in terms of the caddies, which is our next phase in the food waste process, we finalised our procurement and ordered the caddies. They are from a company that has an office in Tamworth, which is really positive. And they are the caddies that you will receive. So silver grey caddies, 1 large, 1 small, 1 7 litre, 1 23 litre. And people will also receive a roll, I think it's 2 rolls of liners that they can use. And we've got a very exciting operation coming up where we're going to have to stuff a small caddy and a large caddy with a leaflet and some liners. And I think we've got to do that however many thousand times? 70,000 times? 80,000 times. So that's going to be a fun operation to arrange. They are set to arrive in October, November, and Darren's been working really hard to make sure we've got somewhere to store those caddies and that they'll be secured and covered. They can't be stacked. They can only be stacked on shelving. So when they come on pallets, and we are going to, we've luckily found a large piece of land, we can actually store those and keep them covered. And the next operation for Vicky to arrange is how we're going to complete putting them together and actually how we're going to deliver them. But the staff that Darren brings on for Christmas will also form a major part of this team, so we can get those out to local households. So it's going to be a logistical
It's only 500 pallets that we're expecting.
Yeah.
See it from the moon.
Great.
The great
China.
China.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
And we've obviously got the interim funding, so the can't remember
Yeah.
the funding for the setup, so that will be paid for out of that, which we've
Yeah, the delivery.
yeah.
Yeah. Additional funding.
That was it. Transitional. I couldn't think of the word. So
Any other questions on that before we move on?
When are we giving them people?
We were talking about that. We're not going to go too early. Obviously, we've got to get Christmas out of the way. We're looking to do them February, March.
and that will tie in nicely with doing the promotional campaign with the food waste Eagle truck, which is a great feature as well. So.
So in terms of food waste promotions, we have started softly on food waste promotions, and we trialled our promotions at the Lichfield Food Festival, which was really positive. Myself, Vicky and Darren were actually quite nervous. We'd have people shouting us about the idea of food waste, but actually people were really, really enthusiastic. Quite a lot of people were unaware that food waste collections were coming. They knew other places around the country have it, but they were unaware that we were getting it and that it was a national campaign. So obviously we're looking forward to the national campaign coming out, which we hope will be coming out soon, so that everyone's awareness of the fact this is coming and the fact it's a national campaign will be heightened. But we did, as I said, had loads of positive feedback. Name the Monster competition went down really well, and we've already talked about Dennis Eagle, and we're now recruiting our Recycle for Good volunteers. We've done all of the relevant background work to make sure that we can bring on a programme of volunteers, and we're hoping to get our hands on a business analyst to help us drive that campaign forward. We've got a body of business analysts that work at the district council, and we're hoping to have one of those on placement for the next 6 months to really drive up that volunteer recruitment campaign. And the two comms teams are now working together really closely to look at the communications for the food waste and how we make sure we communicate that well.
So, sorry, Chair, we don't know when the national campaign will be.
Yeah, but we're hoping Larratt might
Hope, yeah, I was
Yeah.
just thinking that you'll probably get a visit from a minister, won't you, who'll tell you.
Then finally on food waste, I believe. So we have cemented our relationship with the Wombles, which is really, really positive. So the Wombles is an educational charity. It is based off the Wombles TV show, but it's a specific separate educational charity that aims to drive up recycling rates, improve young people's understanding of climate change and nature. And what they've agreed to do is to work with us, and they've on a food waste rollout. So they've actually taken our Recycle for Good branding, and we're going to do a national launch of that with the Recycle for Good branding and the Wombles, which is really positive. And the big thing is we're going to get a Womble to come in both Tamworth and Lichfield.
Orinoco?
We don't know which one yet.
Yeah.
Great.
We're hoping to get a school or a couple of schools in both Tamworth and Lichfield where we'll go and do the launch of that, so we can have some lovely photos with kids. So that will be really, really positive. Yeah. So on to less exciting news. So I just wanted to raise a couple of issues that we do have at the moment. One is vapes and batteries that you've probably seen, and one is Christmas. So vapes and batteries cannot go in any of our bins, but a lot of people, because vapes are plastic, think that they can be recycled, and there have been fires at our tip sites, and equally there are sometimes fires in trucks around the country. So what we need to do and what we're contemplating at the moment, and don't have an answer for at the moment, is we feel that we may need to do some more communication on bins, because it doesn't matter how much we put out on social media, etc. People are not understanding they mustn't put vapes in bins. So we are looking at whether or not there's something that we need to do around that, and we'll probably bring that back to the next Joint Waste Committee meeting, because we really do need to raise awareness of this, because vapes and batteries are really dangerous both for our crews but also for the tip sites, and can lead to significant fires.
Is there, and I don't know this, what you actually do with them is does that go out regularly from wherever to say what you're supposed to do? And like on vapes and things, I know on cigarettes it says, you know, this can kill you. Is there something on the vape packets that says how you dispose of them?
I've never bought one, so I don't know what it says on them. But they are supposed to have a take back scheme, so the shops that sell them are supposed to take them back, and then arrange for them to be recycled. You can also take them to the household waste recycling centres, and they have special bins for them.
Can I do
On our website, we did a poster for the food festival that's also been shared on social media. So we're trying, and we're working with BIFA. They've had the BBC in, and I think there was a slot on BBC Breakfast a couple of weeks ago that was highlighting it.
Lizzie, if we're putting some effort into food waste promotion, recycling,
Yeah.
wombles, then it could be a good opportunity to bring in the educational side on batteries and vapes and that.
So we've obviously got, when we put the leaflet in, I think we've got to cleverly think about every other key message that we've got at the point we actually are going out to the households with the leaflet, because we used to do an annual recycling calendar where we could get a message into every house. We don't obviously have that now, and we hope for people to come and look and find the information. But the food waste, we can't really send them a dictionary of how to recycle, but I think we've got to be really clever and get some really important key messages across, because for a lot of people, they're not doing it, they're certainly not doing it intentionally.
No, they assume, don't they?
We're exploring whether we can put them into council tax leaflets, and that was a discussion we had.
That was going to be a nice suggestion.
Yeah, we
With comms teams last week.
Stephen, thank you.
So just two questions for me around that. One is, what happens if we know we all have kind of bins that we have out on our streets, really, and what happens if people are putting them in there because someone's collecting them from our teams? So what do you do with kind of street bins if people are putting them in there? And then the other thing is around so there's a carrot and a stick in some of this. And I get we need to do the education point, but what powers have we got in relation to that wider enforcement piece? So we can ask people not to do it, but there comes a point when you need to move from kind of education and kind of up a bit. So what's the process that sits around that?
The problem you've got is we don't generally find them until they get tipped at the tipping place, because they're only little tiny things and you wouldn't necessarily see them in.
And they're also
the
heavy
bin.
and they drop to the
So
bottom.
they drop to the bottom of the bin. So most of the time, the only time they get found is when they're actually tipped off later on. And even then, they're not necessarily seeing the crew. The staff would have to search through them and then find them.
So I suppose that's my question though, in relation to
So what the enforcement powers would be around whether or not we could actually enforce if we saw one sitting on the top.
or if
We haven't actually explored that, and that's certainly something that we could go away and explore.
Under section, oh gosh, no, I can't remember them. There is a section in the Environmental Act. We can advise residents, section 43, I think I might be wrong, where we can advise residents what to put in their bin. So I know yours, for Tamworth, you hold the enforcement powers for that, and you can serve notice and have done in the past where people are putting wrong items out or leaving the bins out and things like that. So there is that, and I think our environmental health hold the
I think
enforcement.
this needs to be a consistent approach in relation to, we're a joint waste team. We should be saying this is the education side, but actually if that isn't working, these are the powers, and we need to make sure that constitutionally we've both got those to support the work of the team.
So I think it would be a good idea to go and explore that, but it would be across both teams.
Yeah, we can discuss in our meeting on the 17th.
Yeah.
Is there not something to ask around this? Because I know, sure, it's Sainsbury's, you can take your battery.
You can.
And I used to see it in other shops, but I don't see it so much anymore. That there's if it's too hard, people aren't going to do it. So perhaps it's a bit of a campaign with the larger supermarkets as well, about making sure that, because it may well be that they've had it, it's got full up and they've never bothered again. So it's the onus on us to make sure that they've got those recycling
That's
things.
great. Certainly where I go food shopping, they have a battery.
They're doing the same.
So,
I think we've got an A to Z of recycling points on the website. I think this is a relatively new issue and we need to really look what we're doing around it. So I think if we take it away, look at the various options and any other ideas you've got, throw them our way.
I'm sure most people don't realise about
I
that.
think they don't.
I know that trading standard as well, because there will be, there's a lot of these kind of shops that have set up that are selling vapes, and trading standards are going in, and so I think there's just something around how do we work with trading standards or in EH, we do some of that work.
I think
Can I add that if you're at Larac next week, then this is not just a Lichfield or Tamworth
No, it's not.
problem. So there must be some good advice that we can obtain from other people as well. And I was just thinking, what's actually written on the packet? Does it say that you can't put them into a normal bin? So there's a lot of work on the educational side. I'll take the point that you say, Stephen, but that's a bit more difficult to go down the stick. The carrot seems a bit easier. But I think maybe Larac next week, we could come back with some answers on this.
So I think what we could do then, if we stick this on the forward plan for the Joint Waste Committee, we'll go away, work on a better plan, and then we'll bring it back to the next committee and explain what we've done. And any ideas that anyone has, please just.
That's good.
put a call out as well through APSI, because we're members of APSI, so we could put a call out through there. If we do it through Larac and through APSI, then we should get some good feedback on that.
It's being discussed at SWOG level as well, because it's particularly the three partners who tip in, well, four, I count us as one, tip in at BIFA have all are in discussion with them.
Truck, didn't they?
And his staff's lost a truck and they don't tip into it, but yes, they've lost, there's been vehicle fires. We've been quite lucky, really.
Vicky, just for those who don't know, SWOG, what's SWOG?
Staffordshire Waste Officers Group.
I knew that, I was just.
Waste has the best acronyms.
I'll tell you the housing one later.
Well, just a staffing, finance and governance update. So the base budget review is pretty much completed, although we've got a meeting, I think it's the 16th. Yes, 16th, to finalise that and look through that with the Tamworth team. So then we'll understand exactly where we are. So that's really positive. Driver numbers are relatively low at the moment due to ill health retirement of 3 of our long-standing members of staff. So we will, as I said, we'll be recruiting for more drivers externally, both to support the food waste collection, but also our general service. I've also mentioned already the food waste funding is not confirmed, but we're hoping we may get an update next week. And then in terms of key procurements, really just a well done to Vicky and Darren for finalising what seems to be a never-ending stream of procurements that are very large and complex. I don't think you guys have ever looked at quite so many tenders, but you've done really well, and we've got all of the garden waste stickers, the bin procurements nearing completion, the dry recycling procurement's been started, as well as all the other stuff we've been through recently in terms of vehicles, caddies, etc. So just really well done to the team for bringing forward the procurement team, and thanks to Hannah for all her support as well.
Can I just ask about the financing element? Because I'm just mindful it's not an agenda. Once you've had that conversation with the team, it might be worthwhile to probably put in a meeting so that we can get updated of the board and some of that. So I think the next meeting is not until January, so we might want to sit off site before that. So it'd be helpful.
So then in terms of a performance update, we've got the tables in there, but put a summary of the key updates. So long-term sick is a pressure this year, and we think moving forward we need to be more actively looking at long-term sick and building in-year pressures. The issue with long-term sick is we use agency where somebody goes off sick to cover that person. And when they go off long-term sick, unlike in a lot of teams where you don't replace someone immediately, if you've got an operational person who's on the cruise, we must have somebody to cover to maintain those health and safety ratios. So to make sure that we've got 3 people on that crew. That means we're paying both sick as well as someone to come in and cover, which is very expensive. As you can imagine, it suddenly doubles your cost. And where you then have 3 people off who are all being covered for long-term sick, it suddenly increases the cost massively. I think what we need to be doing is more closely monitoring that and building that in as an in-year pressure, and we'll be picking that up at the base budget review meeting that we have to make sure those mechanisms are put in place, so we can make sure we do that properly across both authorities, because otherwise I think what we do is we get hit by that at the end of the year and we haven't done that relevant jiggling around throughout the year to make sure we're covering ourselves and we know where we're going and we're building those pressures in so both teams are aware. Dry recycling is down this quarter, which is impacting our recycling performance. We know that food waste will help to boost recycling levels, and we're hoping the work with Wombles and Recycle for Good will drive up recycling efforts, but it is just worth noting that it is slightly down at the moment. So that need for the Recycle for Good campaign is most definitely there. Yes.
Just, we also need to be mindful that the overall recycling is affected by the garden waste, and we've had a very dry summer, which means we've had a very low yield of garden waste, and that has a significant impact on the overall recycling figures. So completely out of our control, that one.
Yeah. No. And then the level of accidents is also higher than our normal target. It's not unsurprising because the crews are getting used to new shiny vehicles, which is sad because then they have bumps. So it kind of is expected, but Darren and Pete and the crews are really monitoring this now to try and bring it back down. So we did know, and I think we talked about it when a couple of meetings ago, that we expected it to be slightly higher, but we obviously need to make sure now that it does come down to expected levels so it doesn't continue to be a trend. And then
presumably we've got to be mindful of that if we're going to be employing lots of new drivers with lots of new vehicles.
Yeah, we the team have the CCTV within the cabs, so they're able to go in and view, and they do spot checks and monitoring as well. So they do that and
They're done
run checks as well
by an external provider, so that there's no question of any bias.
It's a driving styles through our telematics. We've got a driving compliant standard officer who monitors that, and we're looking at fuel economy, looking at driving styles, very similar to black boxes that you get through an insurance. So it'll tell us if somebody's harsh braking, that's an indication that's an accident waiting to happen almost. So we target that, and we have surgeries, regular surgeries with drivers, speak to them about their driving style, and then monitor that style going forward. So it is work in progress. But I mean, I've been out on these trucks, and some of these guys, where they put these trucks, they're phenomenal. So we do recognise the good drivers, you know, they're all good drivers. You just, unfortunately, it's one of the hazards of the job that we have to monitor and train and keep on top with.
Lizzie, we've just in that exchange there, we've talked about vehicle accidents. I'm just curious about people accidents, and you know, what statistics have we got on that? And when we talk about the level of accidents higher, is it just vehicles, and safety side of it is acceptable, for want of a better word? How do they balance out?
So it's predominantly vehicle accidents, and we have very few accidents involving individuals. We did have one recently. It was a silly mistake, and all of us can make silly mistakes. And the team have immediately made sure they scooped up the person involved, sorted him out, and also we'll be placing more training around the team to make sure that those issues are addressed. But in a team that is so active and so out in the ground so much, and it's so physical, there will be occasional accidents with individuals, but it is predominantly vehicle accidents. Any other questions? So I've put the performance update on there. I picked up the red ones. I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of the other measures. No. Okay.
Lizzie, again, we've talked about this, that it's not in the pack, but on our website there is a comparison with other authorities as well, if we wanted to go a bit deeper and look into how we compare as well.
Yeah, there is. Okay. Absolutely. I think we could feed some benchmarking figures into this as well, particularly around recycling rates would be really useful. So I think we could do that moving forward.
Yeah.
I did leave on the simpler recycling update only in case anybody has any questions on it. We don't really have any great insight into any of the other things that are coming forward, but again, we hope Lorraine might give us a bit more.
Ask another question, please. The residual weights, how do we calculate those? How is that put together?
The residual waste arisings is the tonnages divided by the number of households that it collected from to get the per household.
Okay. We don't go around everyone's bin weighing them.
Not personally, no.
We do in Oxford.
Go over the Weybridge.
Okay, thank you.
So that's it for the update, Chair. Any other questions?
Any further questions? Anna?
Just in terms of Christmas, were we just going to
Did I touch on that?
Christmas?
He's going to come.
Sorry.
Next one.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
So Christmas arrangements, we're just working on a plan for Christmas at the moment. Calendars are 13-month calendars, so they do take people up after Christmas, so they're the ones that people can download, and obviously the online calendar is there as well. And we are looking to look at the staff arrangements, which we've said, and we are talking at the moment about the need for tags on bins and whether or not that's necessary, and we'll be developing a plan with both Councillor Foster and Councillor Whitehouse to make sure that Christmas is a success as it was last year. That will obviously have to be arranged outside of joint waste committee meetings.
Will there be a close down during Christmas then? No, so
Well,
there will.
collecting Christmas Day, Boxing Day and New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just thinking about tower blocks in those periods and just making sure that
We build them into the
for
the plan.
additional. Okay, that's cool.
That's you done on that
Any other
section.
question?
So, if everyone is happy with that update and future plans, I gather we all are. That leads us to go through the next item on the agenda, which is the risk log. Again, over to you, Lizzie.
Open it up. So is anyone averse to me just running through the high risks that we have presently, and then asking any questions afterwards of any of the other risks?
Yes, Lizzie, that's a good way forward. Thank you.
One of the things that Councillor Whitehouse has asked for, and we said last time that we were going to enhance our risk log, and we hadn't actually done it, is the inclusion of a reference number, which you can see on the left there. So there is now a risk number. And then Councillor Whitehouse has also asked for an update column to say whether the risk has changed since last time and whether it's gone up/down. We only just added that on. So whether it's changed and what it's changed from, just so it's easier to track. So we'll make sure that that's up to date. So in terms of the risks, we've talked through recycling rates, so I won't dwell on that further. And we've also talked through vapes and batteries. So again, that is an issue for us. Staff parking at the depot is a pressing risk. At the moment, it's a huge risk because the roads outside and around the depot are free to park on. But if there was any change to that, we would struggle, and we are going to be bringing in a whole new team of people with even more cars, so it will create more pressure around that estate. There isn't capacity on our current depot site for people to park. So if there is a change to the parking arrangements around the depot, we will have to think creatively about what we do. So that could be a financial risk. It could be that we need to move to picking up crews on the way out and in the rounds. So we'll have to think about how we do that. But that is.
Can I just add that practically, I have actually been to the depot quite a few times, and it is chaos around there with because it's not just the depot that's in that location. There's lots of other factories as well. So when I saw that we've got an extra 30 staff potentially with 30 vehicles, it to me, it's more of a pressing issue than perhaps on paper it looks to be. So that, I would certainly say that we need to get that one sorted.
I think one of the other things we'd like to look to do is to really look at the cycle to work scheme and whether we can promote that significantly, because we can reduce down the number of people coming on in cars. The challenge is, however, that the teams are arriving at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know about you, but I wouldn't fancy cycling at 5 o'clock in the morning in the pouring down rain. You might get it in the summer, you know, it's quite nice in the summer when you drop off.
We do have people that do it in the summer, but that's
Cycle on then after doing 15 miles.
So I think I don't know how successful that will actually be, maybe in the summer months. But this is an issue we know that we're live to and we're going to have to deal with. And we're going to have to see how easy it is to fit the 30 in when that arrives and what issues that brings. But
Other areas have looked at things like kind of incentivising car sharing.
absolutely.
Actually, so I think that's, you know,
It's an option.
that's probably one
Definitely.
to look at.
Definitely. So yeah, so any good ideas on that, throw them our way and we will definitely be looking at them over. Finance, we know the finances at the moment don't necessarily reflect the full cost of the budget, and we have been patching the budget as we go over many years with lump sums of money that we get, and the base budgeting review has been looking to resolve that. So we know we're robust moving forward. So that piece of work is continuing. So we'll get to a conclusion on that, which is really positive. We know sick pay costs are a pressure for us and they will continue to be so, but we are working with our new HR team to look at how we can strengthen our approach to not long-term sick, because we are very robust around long-term sick, and the team are really, the way you guys manage it is really impressive, very compassionate, very hands-on, and make sure we are, you know, really managing anyone who is going through a long-term sick period. But it's more the short-term sick where people fall on and off different stages in the process, but then make repeat patterns over a number of years, and we aren't necessarily picking that up. So we're working with our HR team to address that, so that moving forward we can have a much stronger hold over sick pay costs and hopefully bring those down. And then the bulky waste scheme is something that we feel we'll probably need to address outside of this meeting and before the next joint waste meeting. It's to do with what's called POPs, which is persistent organic pollutants, which basically are in your sofa. So when you sit on your sofa, you're sitting on POPs. What we do at the moment is we collect it as part of our general waste service. So our black trucks collect it, but we know now, and we can no longer do that, and we need to have a separate collection service. The income from the bulky waste scheme at the moment underpins our general waste collection. So bringing a new scheme in to collect those items will bring new costs, but there is opportunity, and we've done a quick calculation looking at other authorities' costs on bulky where they don't have huge issues with fly tipping, and with a few tweaks around costings we think we could cover the cost of that service coming in. But we need to do that obviously collaboratively across both authorities, and also in collaboration with our teams who are picking up fly tipping, because what we need to make sure we don't do is create an issue which is even then more costly to pick up. So that's an ongoing piece of work that we'll do obviously collaboratively with the team at Tamworth. But I do think we'll have to make some decisions around it potentially before the next Joint Waste Committee. So that will be something that we need to do with the help of both Councillor Foster and Councillor Whitehouse, and we will do that.
Can I ask when this issue around soft furnishings arose? Because I've literally just in the last month been getting a skip for work, and both companies I went to said you cannot put any fabric in it, anything, and it's like, so it's that come from?
Yeah, so it's been around for a number of years, but DEFRA are now enforcing it. So it's a bit like the food waste collections for businesses. It's supposed to happen now, but it's not being enforced until next year. So it's been around for a number of years. We've been lucky as a joint authority because we saved money on our bulky collections, but now there are a lot of other authorities that already have separate collections, many that don't.
Do they have to go somewhere else
They
then?
have to be stored separately in an audited trail separately and then disposed of separately, and you can't crush them in the back of a vehicle because otherwise the remainder of your waste then becomes affected by POPs. So we effectively have to have a separate collection service.
But it sounds quite scary, doesn't it, that that's what you're sitting on every day?
Exactly. It's fine because it's not being crushed and changed.
Yeah.
It's just it's in its full state. It's when it's actually broken down that it becomes a challenge. Yeah. So then other risk is that we've talked about health and safety. We've and the fact that the accident rate is high, but also we have our health and safety lead officer is leaving. He's obviously the officer across both authorities, so we have increased that risk there, but we have recruited a new health and safety manager who's incredibly experienced. They're joining us in January, so we will be filling that gap with somebody in the intervening period to make sure we are covered, but I just thought that was worth highlighting for you. And that's it for the high risk. So if there's any questions on any of the other risks. Thank you, Chair.
I was just looking at my notes. I think we've covered everything that we've previously talked about. So no, I don't have any questions on that. Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. And that leaves us to item 6, which is to have a look at the work programme.
Perfect. So
Are you sharing your screen?
I can do, yeah. Yeah. So, not many changes from the work programme since the last committee. Looking ahead to the next meeting in January, we've got the regular updates on the various items, as well as joint waste business plan update and performance, update on food waste rollout, including communals, new fleet update, and the round review proposals. And earlier on in this meeting, it was requested that we add the issue of vapes and batteries onto future meeting, presumably that next meeting, to look at. But that's everything on the work programme at present. Is there anything else the committee has highlighted?
I think it'd
Yeah.
be worth putting pops on for the next one so we can.
Perfect.
My point.
Brilliant.
Even
Not an item for this, I'm happy with this. Just going back to the previous risk register, there was a medium on there which talks about appetite or initiatives. So it'd be useful for the officers to have a look at that and to come back to us with what that means.
Across the
It
top
talks
level.
about it's the first medium risk, so if we can understand that outside of here.
Stephen, is that the top point on strategic?
Yes, sorry, yes.
absolutely.
I think Councillor Foster was keen for us to re-explore the HVO, the opportunities of HVO. He's
Yeah.
Farewell.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Good. So we see the original work programme. We've made some amendments, some additions to that. That will be circulated in due course. And unless there's anything else, I believe we've come to the end of the meeting. Are you happy?